ABC Kinderteach presents A Wish for Wings That Work, an Opus Christmas story by Berkeley Breathe. He's a penguin and he cannot fly even though he's a bird. It was a good morning to fly, even if it had come late and slow and so cold that a penguin feared his nose might freeze and drop off like one of the icicles hanging over the porch. So it's very, very cold out. Even his nose is cold. Fly! Opus whispered to himself as he ran to the top of Duck's Breath Ridge at dawn to watch the snow ducks soar above. There they are. Fly! He whispered as he lifted his wings and waited to be swept up beneath the fading Christmas moon with the other birds. But it was on mornings such as this that Opus's heart grew as cold as his nose. A penguin can surely say the word fly, but he cannot do it. So he wants to fly, but he just can't because he's a penguin. A bird with wings that won't work, Opus growled to himself. What good is that? What good am I? I might as well have been a snail or a slice of Melba toast. And that's just a type of toast. One day during lunch, he climbed the statue in the park and offered to share his last pickle with the pigeons. But they just rolled their eyeballs around and moved away. It is not our pleasure, they sniffed, or said, to share pickles with birds whose wings do not work. So they're being very mean to him, saying, we don't want to be around you because you can't fly like we can. If my wings will not lift me, I'll find something that does, thought Opus. He heard a man screaming on TV about a new product everyone should own called a flap-o-matic, which must help him fly. Flapping. Opus quickly ordered one. When it arrived, he put it together and hoped everything was right, since the instructions were in a different language. Opus carried it up to Vulture Gorge, strapped it on, and wound up the rubber band. Let's see. When he moves his wings that do not fly back and forth, it's supposed to make these wings that look like birds flap back and forth. And I think the rubber band is here, and he spun it around or twisted it, and it's supposed to make this propeller spin so that it makes him go this way. I hope he doesn't do this. It does not look safe. Let's see. Stepping to the edge, Opus looked down to the bottom 3 miles below. Ooh, that's a long ways. Ooh. Yow, he gulped, which means swallowed loudly. He sighed, walked back home, and spent the rest of the day cooking anchovy Christmas cookies, which are really, anchovies are fish, which wasn't nearly as dangerous. And this is what anchovies look like. So anchovy Christmas cookies, not for me. Maybe for you, but not for me. And then Opus knew what he should do. That night he sat in front of his warm fireplace, considered, or thought about, his words carefully, and wrote an important letter. Dear Santa Claus, in the past I have asked for a scarf that would last. I have wished for new skates or some herring rum cakes, but since my wings sputter or flap poorly, at those times they should flutter, flap quickly, I thought you should know I need wings that will go. So he's asking Santa Claus for some wings. And look at, up there on top of his fireplace is a picture of a woman. Her name is Amelia Earhart, and she was a famous pilot. So he kind of thinks that, oh, I wish I was a pilot like her. I could fly like she can. There's all sorts of birds on his wall, too. After mailing his Christmas list, Opus congratulated himself, or told himself that he did a good job, that a penguin could be so clever. And he immediately went up to Duck's Breath Ridge to practice takeoffs. So he's on an ironing board with maybe a box and then a little step ladder and a chair and a couple of books. And I guess he's practicing taking off. I hope he doesn't hurt himself. Santa Claus will be bringing me new wings, announced Opus to a passing snow duck. I shall be flying on Christmas morning. Do you think that's going to work? We'll have to wait and see. Christmas Eve soon arrived, and after leaving a note of welcome to Santa Claus in the fireplace, and see, there it is in the fireplace, the penguin whose wings would not work tucked himself into bed. He burrowed down deep, which means he really covered himself up, in his thick quilt, like a blanket, curled his knees up to his chin, scratched his nose one last time, and as a flock of snow ducks drifted silently across the full Christmas moon, closed his eyes. Fly, Opus whispered to himself just before falling asleep. I'll be flying on Christmas morning. And then he was snoring. Do you think he's going to be able to fly on Christmas morning? We'll have to see. Look, there, above the hills, above the clouds, a soft glow, growing brighter, closer. What was it? It was much too early for the sun. Maybe it was a duck with a flashlight. Listen, sleigh bells ringing. Ducks don't wear sleigh bells. Why, it was him, of course, and with the thunder of hooves, Father Christmas, or Santa Claus, himself burst through the midnight clouds. So there's the Rudolph right there with his red nose. On over the countryside, the land in the country, not the city, Santa's sleigh swooped, or went quickly downward, and glided, flying without really doing any work like flapping wings or the reindeers pulling it, and zoomed, and wait, there was a bump, a little thump, probably just some bumpy air, or maybe not. Something was not right. A small piece of the harness had broken away, and you can see what's happening up here. The reindeer flew on, but Santa's sleigh plummeted, which means it fell very, very fast. Like a meteor, a rock from space falling quickly from the sky toward the lake. So he is headed right for the lake with his sleigh and himself and his Christmas list. Hello, wake up, emergency, a voice hollered or yelled. Who's jumping about on my bed? Asked Opus, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. A snow duck was holding a light over Opus and looking very upset. Catastrophe! Calamity, which means a terrible thing happening, the duck hollered. A considerable, or major, setback. Something that happens which makes you take longer to get something done. Please, follow me. Opus sighed and guessed that the milkman had slipped and gotten his head stuck in the porch railing again. He crawled out of bed and stumbled outside behind his midnight intruder. And that's someone who comes into your house without being invited. There, said the snow ducks, and they pointed toward the dark lake. They lifted the little penguin so he could see better. Opus could just make out something. A lantern out on the water, right there. A big man with a white beard standing atop, or on top of, a sleigh that was teetering, moving back and forth in an unsafe way, rocking and sinking, which means it was sinking down into the water. Opus gasped in horror. He breathed in quickly because he saw the terrible sight of the sinking sleigh. Ooh, what's he going to do? Well, he is a penguin, so penguins do swim in cold water. Maybe that's what's going to happen. Down the snowy bank, Opus scampered, running with quick, light steps. A flash of black and white. He jumped in so fast he looked like a flash of black and white. As he hit the water with a roar, a shimmering curtain of spray, a shiny flash of water, erupted or shot up behind the rushing missile, Opus diving quickly. It held in the air for the longest seconds, catching the moonlight before falling. Toad frogs leaped, catfish jumped, and Opus flew strong and fast through the icy water, a wonderful, roaring, graceful torpedo, a rocket that moved with beauty. Sailing through the darkness, he was swimming and swimming after all, is what penguins do best. So here are the frogs getting out of his way. "There!" whispered a snow duck from the water's edge. "Look there!" he said, pointing now, for something was moving toward them. It was Opus, and he was pulling that great Christmas sled and all the toys through the freezing water with the reins in his teeth. There was great sloshing or splashing and frothing, which causing a lot of bubbles, and laughing. Somebody was laughing. Out from the sleigh, a deep voice of good cheer or being happy drifted in over the water. "Ho, ho, ho, ho," it rumbled faintly. "Ho, ho, ho, go." So Opus is pulling the sleigh to the shore. He's very, very brave. Opus stumbled, exhausted, onto the dock. His arms ached, which means they were tired and sore, and it hurt to breathe. He noticed many eyes watching him, and he tried his best to straighten his soggy red bow tie, and there's his bow tie right there. He had brought the sleigh safely to shore. The reindeer were waiting there patiently, which means they were not in a hurry to leave. The large man in the red suit approached, grasped his hand, and shook it gently. Santa's wide pink face came down close, and his whiskers brushed Opus's ear. Opus noticed his kind eyes, one of which blinked softly. "I see no penguins here," Santa whispered, "whose wings only sputter. Tonight it was curries that flew yours beyond others." He whirled, and with a snap of a whip and a hearty laugh, which means a very loud laugh, he and the sleigh sailed up toward the stars. So Santa thanked him for saving him and his sleigh and the toys. Opus awoke Christmas morning and stumbled sleepily to the door, but he found something besides the morning paper outside. He rubbed his eyes in disbelief, which means he couldn't believe it. There, on his front porch and spreading out across his lawn and down the street, were hundreds, maybe even thousands of smiling snow ducks, and each and every one wore a little bright red bow tie. Two of the ducks took hold of his arms and led him outside, where, slowly at first and then faster, they all began running and flapping their wings. Oh, look it, they're going to help him fly, right? They're going to help him fly. "What's going on?" said Opus, but he already knew, for his feet weren't on the ground anymore. Over the street and above the houses, those ducks carried Opus until they were way, way above Duck's Breath Ridge. Down below, people looked up, for they could hear a voice somewhere above the clouds. It was a penguin whose wings didn't work, laughing because he surely was flying on Christmas morning. So the ducks are helping him fly by carrying him while they fly. And there's his flying gear right there on the chair.